Is that all okay coming through?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, look, thanks very much for having me here, folks. As Geraldine mentioned, my name's Jeff Thornton. I'm a Navy aerospace engineer with the Royal Australian Navy. And today I'm going to get to talk to you about a few of the jobs and careers that we have, both in engineering and in IT. There's a bit of crossover, so I wanted to combine them both together. So quickly, we'll go through a bit about the Australian Defence Force, some of the jobs, like I say, the engineering and IT jobs that we have available, how you can get in, some of the lifestyle and benefits and the fitness as part of being a member of the Australian Defence Force, joining, and a couple of contacts for you to stay in touch. So basically, what is the Australian Defence Force? Well, we're an organisation that is charged by government to defend Australia and its national interests. So some of the things that we do is that we get involved in humanitarian aid and disaster relief. Now, we've got a photo on the screen from about 18 months ago with the bushfires that were all around Australia. Australian Defence Force, all three services were involved in helping Australians and making sure that those people that were affected in those areas were able to get to safety. We also do that for our international neighbours, for example, especially around the South Pacific, where there's quite often a lot of cyclones and hurricanes and what have you, and there's communities that need our help. We also get involved in looking after Australians from a domestic security point of view, and also border protection. As you can well imagine, there's plenty of things that we don't want coming into Australia, but certainly plenty of things that we do. For example, we don't want the drugs, but we definitely want our iPads. So all that border protection, we get involved in that. And as it says there, we get involved in conventional warfighting. What does that really mean? Well, in the world, sometimes there are people that, or countries or organisations that don't want to live harmoniously with everybody else. And so we, at the Australian Defence Force, we get the opportunity to go out into the global community and try and keep the peace. So we might do that through projection of power, just by being kind of like the yard duty teacher, and if necessary, we might engage people to stop their behaviour that's not going to be good for everybody. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both engineers and IT, because there's quite a lot of crossover with some of the roles that we do. So an engineer is an officer in the Australian Defence Force. That means that we look after people, we look after our technical teams, and we have a great deal of technical oversight in all of the systems and the capability that we use. So that might be a submarine, it might be a joint strike fighter aircraft. We're very much involved in problem solving all the time. And so as an engineer, we get to work in 4 key areas. We have operational engineering, which is when, as you can see on the picture there, when we're actually working on a ship or on a submarine, for example, we might be working with a platoon of soldiers out in the Australian outback doing a mission or an exercise. Engineers can go with that team to keep everything working properly. So we also get involved in when Australian government wants to buy new assets, like a new submarine or a new helicopter. We get involved in doing all the analysis that helps us purchase the right equipment and make sure that it's going to do what we actually want it to do. And then capability sustainment is when we've bought something, a system or a new piece of equipment, and we want to make sure that it keeps working for the whole life of that particular piece of equipment. For example, we have Navy ships that last for 30 years. And so as you can imagine, over a 30-year period, we need to upgrade it. We need to make sure that any of the repairs and maintenance go ahead correctly, etc. So we get involved as engineers in identifying and really working with the teams to make sure that all of our capability is working correctly. And then finally, we as engineers champion safety. It's very important for us to look after everything that we do. And it's not just looking after our as you can see on the picture there, we've got some helicopters and a ship, but it's also looking after our people. And we do all of that by making sure that our engineering regulations are world's best practice. A number of ways that you can work as an engineer. we have engineers working in Navy, Army and Air Force. And I've got them some highlighted there. The blue rings highlight the air environment, where we actually have engineers working in that sort of aerospace environment. The grey is the maritime environment, which is predominantly the Navy, and the green is the land environment, which is predominantly the Army. But as you can see, there's a little bit of Air Force that works in the land environment. So it doesn't matter which area you like to work in, there's generally going to be an engineering role that will be suitable for you. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the communications, IT and intelligence. So this is where we need people to get involved in all of the sophisticated and high technology equipment that we use throughout the entire ADF, the Navy, Army and Air Force. This helps us communicate effectively, and as you can see, there's plenty of opportunities amongst intelligence, telecommunications, the systems that actually do the surveillance. We certainly get involved in communications. Everything that we do is encrypted. We don't want anybody listening in to any of the communications that we have. So we have a full suite of data encryptions. We have secure communications via satellite or by VHF and UHF. We also have a whole bunch of analysis that goes on to listen to what's going on in our environment and then take that information, analyze it and disseminate or give that information to the decision makers. And of course, most importantly, as we heard just in the last talk, cybersecurity, big area that's not just affecting the ADF, but it's affecting the entire globe. So some of the things that you could do in this communications and IT intelligence area is you're going to, depending on what you like and depending on what kind of job you would like to do, we want to make sure that all of our communication systems are working. So as you can imagine, we might have a ship at sea and a group of soldiers on the land. We need to make sure that they are communicating. But also, we might be doing an exercise with some of our allies, for example, the United States or Japan, and we need to communicate securely with those allies of ours. And so that kind of IT and communication systems very important. We have a lot of advanced combat systems, as we call them. Now, these systems are the ones that will go out into the world, find out what's going on around us in our environment, maybe overseas, and bring all that information in so that we can understand what's happening out there. So we have a group of people that will look after, maintain those systems, but also analyze what's going on. And then we can then, as I was saying before, disseminate or give that information to the decision makers so that they can plot where it is that we need to go and do our business. So our range of people comes from operators, designers and communicators, anybody that's going to manage, maintain all of that complex equipment. Let me talk a little bit about how you can get into the various pathways of joining into the Australian Defence Force. What's really exciting about the ADF is that we have both qualified and unqualified pathways. So we have a full suite of military and technical employment training that we do internally to ourselves. Certainly you can learn about your job on the job, if you like, or we can work with you if you've been to university and you can bring your skills with us. So we have we have the general entry, and these are usually the hands-on operators and technical people that want to get into the systems and do the work. So we usually take people who are unqualified and then give them all the training internally with the Navy, Army or Air Force, depending on what you would like to join. We work very closely with industry. We also work very closely with civilian trainers to make sure that our training is spot on. This way, as a general entry person, you do get to work hands-on with the state-of-art technology, and over your career, we will continually invest in you so that you can keep learning. As you can imagine, especially in the cyber world, things are changing almost overnight, every night. And so we need to keep your skills up. And so we very much look at internal training and external training to keep you most current with your knowledge. Now, the other area is the officer entry, and these are more of the leadership or management roles in the area of expertise that you want to go into. We'll help you acquire the management and leadership skills that you need. We also will help you if you want to study at university, or even if you already have completed some university studies down the track and want to join the ADF, we'll then take you with your skills. Two very important things to note here, I guess, from that officer entry. For those people wanting to go to university and get their qualifications, we have the Australian Defence Force Academy and a Defence University sponsorship program. Now, the Australian Defence Force Academy is one of the greatest places that you can get a degree, because not only will we pay you a salary and we will give you all your studies, which is run by the University of New South Wales, but we also don't get you to pay for it. So there's no HECS or HECS help debt. And also at the very end of your studies, we absolutely guarantee you a job. In addition to your academic studies, you're going to get all the leadership and management, kind of like the extra subject that's going to teach you about how to be a good leader within the Australian Defence Force. Now, I've got on the screen there a few of the different kinds of ADFA degrees that we have. Certainly, as we've been talking about, you can do an honours degree in engineering. You can look at mechanical, electrical, aeronautical and civil engineering. Also coming very soon is naval architecture. You may not be aware, but Australian government is investing very heavily in shipbuilding because we want to build all our Navy ships here in Australia. We do that with defence contractors and overseas expertise, but the bulk of the work is getting done here. So we need engineers to help take care of that. To get in, you need a good Year 12 physics, maths and English, and an ATAR of 85. Now, if you're looking to get more involved in the computing and cybersecurity area, we can do a bachelor degree in that area too. So again, Year 12 maths and English and an ATAR of 80. Interesting to know, the engineering degree is a 4-year degree. The Bachelor of Computing and Cybersecurity initially is a 3-year with a 4-year optional honours. Now, other areas that you might be thinking about, like the computer science and information systems, we have the Bachelor of Science, which will give you the opportunity to do a combination of, say for example, computer science and maths, and you can take those as a double major. Again, needing the Year 12 subjects. If you're going to be looking at studying physics, for example, in your Bachelor of Science, you need to make sure that you've done Year 12 physics. But definitely a maths and an English to come into the Australian Defence Force Academy. ATAR of 75. And I've got one last point there about joint military and single service training. As you can see on the screen there, a couple of pictures. When you are studying at ADFA, you're not just going to be doing your academics, and I kind of mentioned that before. You're going to be doing all sorts of leadership activities together, all as a student cohort, and then sometimes as just Army or just Navy or just Air Force. So these gives you a great broad range of both academic and leadership development. And this is what we're looking for, good all-rounders that can become great leaders. Second thing I wanted to mention is the university sponsorship. This is a really great program for those people who don't want to go to ADFA, but still want to get paid to study. You can go and go to the university that you choose. So for example, I'm on the south coast of New South Wales. I might want to go to University of Wollongong and do my studies there. We will pay you a full-time salary, give all your superannuation, pay the remainder of your HECS help debt, and all the other benefits such as your free dental and free medical that we offer. And then when you graduate, we guarantee that you'll get a job with us. So we have it all worked out. All you need to do is study and pass everything, which is a really great benefit. You don't have to worry about getting a part-time job because we're paying you a full-time salary to do it. There's not much in the way of military commitment, unlike ADFA, which has all of that leadership throughout your degree. With Defence University sponsorship, we take care of all of that once you graduate, and then we can then bring you up to speed with all that leadership and management. We generally say do a semester's worth of study at a university of your choice, and then apply to us ready for your second year. The lifestyle and benefits of being in the Australian Defence Force are huge. Now, I'm a bit older than you folks, so I quite like the fact that my professional development is taken care of. I've got great superannuation for my retirement, and I've made some really great friends. But as you can see there on the pictures, sport is a great thing that we get everybody to be involved in, whether that's just going to the gym or whether that's being part of the rock climbing club or AFL or rugby. We have a whole range of different sporting clubs, so you can get involved in that. We also have a lot of different gamers clubs, and so that you can get to know a lot of people with similar interests. We take care of all your medical bills. We'll give you subsidised meals and accommodation. And if you want to live away from home when you're doing all your study, we can actually contribute to your rent as well. I think one of the great things that is still happening despite COVID is that members of the Australian Defence Force are still travelling. Because we're an essential service and we need to be doing our business to help protect Australia, under the guidance of the government, we get to still go to the various places. So I've had friends go overseas on missions and exercises over the last 12 months, where most Australians haven't been able to do that. But I guess all this comes at a little bit of a cost. What do we want from you? Well, I'm glad you asked. What we need you to be as an Australian citizen, you need to have a checkable background, because that gives you the defence security clearance that you need to have a job within the ADF. And that doesn't matter whether it's an engineer, a cyber security expert, whether you're hands-on or whether you're a leader, everybody's the same. Most importantly, we need you to be motivated, be mature and have a good sense of who you are and your values. Now, obviously, we're going to help you develop that. But in the first instance, we're looking for people with good leadership potential and the ability to communicate really well. You might have noticed, especially with ADFA, that we ask for English in a lot of those subjects. And that's because predominantly what we do is that we communicate with people. Now, it doesn't matter whether that's communicating like I'm talking to you guys now, or whether it's communicating face-to-face, or indeed with an encrypted communications data link. We need you to be able to get your message across clearly, and so that none of the information is misunderstood. You need to be fit to come into the Australian Defence Force. We can help you with that. And most importantly, we want you to have a team mindset. If you love working with people and you love working in a team and you can see the benefits of working in a team, there's probably no greater place in the Australian Defence Force to put that into practice. Quickly mention a bit about fitness. Now, most times when I go to an activity, I usually have something free to give away to people. It's a bit harder with the virtual environment. So the ADF Active app is a free app that you can download to help you with your fitness. Now, even if you don't end up wanting to join the ADF, keep the app, because it will help you with your fitness. You can set a plan so that you can increase your fitness. And folks, I would say that if you have a healthy body, you're going to have a healthier mind, and that's going to help you study better, pass your exams better, and just generally live better. So the ADF Active, see it at your Play Store or your Apple App Store. Very quickly, 6 steps to join. You go to defencejobs.gov.au and click on the apply button. We get you to do an online medical questionnaire, an online aptitude test, and then you can then talk to a career coach to find out what it is that you might actually be best suited to. You attend point 3 there, you attend an assessment day, which we do an in-depth medical, psychological, and do your one-on-one interviews. For those people going on to being officers, you attend an officer selection board, point 4. And then finally at point 5, we get you to take your fitness test to make sure that you're ready to come into the ADF. And then finally, you attend your appointment day or enlistment day, and that means you're ready to go off to training. Folks, thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Here's a few ways to keep in touch with us. If you want to get in touch with me specifically, the email address second from bottom there, engineers@dfr.com.au, when I check that every single day. Thank you very much.
No worries. We have a few questions here for you. Actually,
Okay. Okay, fire away.
If we complete a degree at UTS, can we still be part of the Defence Force after graduating, or do we have to apply straight after year 12?
No, so if you're already doing your degree, you can apply for as a graduate for when you have finished, or if you want to get sponsored for the rest of your degree, you can apply now if you're already at UTS. If you are in year 12, you can certainly still get into UTS and then apply for that university sponsorship. So a number of different ways.
Cool. Who started Defence Force recruiting and why did they start it?
Wow, who started it? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question. We've been around a long time because we, I guess, have been around since 1901, the Defence Force. So we've, yeah, but I don't know who it was that started it. A good question. I have to find that out.
I guess that kind of relates to the next question. Why did you want to work at Defence Force recruiting?
Yeah, look, so I'm an engineer. I generally work with Navy helicopters, and this is an opportunity at Defence Force recruiting for me to go out and look for other engineers and other IT people to come and join. So I put my hand up and applied for the opportunity, and I've been doing this job now for about 18 months. At the end of the year, I actually go back to being an engineer in the Seahawk Romeo Squadron. So yeah, just a great fun job.
We have two questions that are pretty similar. So can international students apply for work experience pathway programs, or do you need a citizenship? Yeah.
Yeah, generally for all work experience and employment, you do need to be an Australian citizen. And that's because we do require everybody to have that baseline security clearance. And to get that, you need to be Australian.
Okay, yeah. Here's another question. Did you see some countries trying to spy on our country near the Queensland coast? Why has no action been taken yet?
Well, that's a great question. Do you know what? I think if the times in which we're living in, there are always some countries spying on us. And that's and I can assure you that the action is being taken. I was in a meeting the other day when I listened to one of the very, very senior members of the Navy who works in the Joint Operations Command, letting us know some of the things that they're doing. All security, but yeah, we're on it. Don't worry, we're looking after us.
Obviously, of COVID at the moment, this is not going to happen. But how are you able to meet or talk to a recruiter?
Well, that's easier. Most of what we do at the moment, a great question, is that we do it all via telephone or in virtual environments. So I'm a recruiter. I regularly meet people via Google Meet or Zoom. If you want to talk to someone directly, you can call 13 1901, and that way you can then start that conversation and somebody will always be available to talk to you.
Yeah, cool. Here's another question. How is IT related to Defence Force?
IT is integral. It's with everything that we do. Our systems are highly complex. We use the most cutting edge technology that we can, and we use it in very secure environments. So everything from using Microsoft Office in the workplace right through to the proprietary, for example, combat and weapon systems, all rely on systems and secure IT.
Yeah, cool. Here's a interesting question. Is your life always at risk doing your job?
Right now, I'm working from home, and the most risk is the guy next door doing his lawn mowing. No, seriously though, we don't normally get involved in that situation. There are a small number at any one time of people who might be on a deployment or in a heightened environment of security. And yes, there is a potential that somebody's life might be under, I guess, threatened or what have you. But most likely, the majority of us, we support those people, and we train every single day to make sure that we are doing the right thing and keeping people safe.
Yeah. What is the software used by the Australian Defence Force for communication?
Look, we have so many different systems. They're all, I guess, classified, if you like, and they are all proprietary, which means that we don't just communicate via WhatsApp or whatever. As a general rule, we use things in that same kind of way, but a lot more secure. So yeah, we have a whole range of different systems, from communicating, for example, from ship to shore, from air to ship, from air to shore, and with our allies.
Does the Defence Force work alongside ASIS, and can career paths be mixed?
So we work alongside many different government agencies, depending on what our need is. As I've said at the beginning, we get involved in a lot of humanitarian effort, which means that, like even the COVID assist at the moment that we're doing in contact tracing, for example, we work alongside various medical people. If you're in another agency and you want to work with Defence, it depends on the relationship that's going to happen and depends on the requirement. Generally speaking, though, for pure defence work, you need to be a member of the Department of Defence.
Yeah. Unfortunately for international students, I don't think they're allowed to work for the Australian Defence Force, but they also asked about, like, what do you guys think about the LGBT community? Would you guys care about a trans person, let's say, and are they able to work for the Australian Defence Force?
Hey, look, that's a really great question. And yeah, certainly international students, you do need to be Australian citizens to join. But one of the great things about the Australian Defence Force is that we are champions of diversity and inclusion. And that doesn't matter whether you identify with a particular gender or whether you are a particular lifestyle or whatever. We want and welcome everybody to work with us. I'll give you a quick example, not so much LGBTI, but just in the female, is that the two most senior engineers in the Navy right now are female, which sends a very clear message that we promote people into the senior roles who are the best people for the job. We actively recruit females, and there's many opportunities to get involved in diversity and inclusion groups right across defence. And obviously I'm in the Navy, I know about the Navy ones, but they also exist in the Army and the Air Force. So at the end of the day, my solemn belief is that the more diversity we have, the more inclusion we have, the much better workplace it is and the much better organisation we are. So please join. We welcome you.
Yeah, I think we just have time for one final question. What if you don't like physics or maths, but you do want to work for the Army or the Defence Force, because the only subject the anonymous user is good at PDHP?
Okay, look, that's a great question. So I mentioned a bit about the two different areas that you could join, general entry or officer entry. If you're not great really with your maths and your physics, the general entry normally requires, on average, a year 10 level entry. So if you do year 10, and depending on the job, you might need a year 10 level maths and a year 10 level science. But other than that, yeah, we're really happy to hear from you. So give us a call and we can talk through your options.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing your experiences at Defence Force recruiting. Yeah.
Thank you.